Here on Deep Space Nine, we reserve our wacky adventures with our local former death camp operator here on Future Please. A vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Hey, don't mind me. I'm fresh back from a trip down Retro Lane. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Oh, Peter, I think the the photos you took of your Sega CD and Atari Lynx boxes, still quite minty looking, all things considered, was a highlight of my week, man. You took me down memory lanes I didn't know I had.
As you can see over my shoulder at the pile of shit behind me that I had to drag out of storage so they could get to the water meter. It's fresh on my mind as well. My big laugh in clearing all that stuff out and seeing some old stuff was actually finding the Simon & Schuster Interactive Technical Manual and the Omnipedia.
Yes.
And a Final Unity and this other stuff that we covered in the Patreon content we did for Star Trek Borg, which I think I had more fun talking about mid-90s gaming and consoles than I did playing that.
Star Trek Borg.
I know I had more fun.
Yes. It's so much so that you and I think, are going to have another discussion about that for Patreon in not too distant future. Because I think, retro gaming talk seems to be very limited to the things that everyone liked. Like, oh man, did you know people liked Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger and Zelda Link to the Past? Like, yes, of course, everyone liked those, but you had to be a quote unquote real gamer if you were playing Lunar Silver Star Story on the fucking Sega CD. There's a whole strata of retro gaming that you and I think had more experience with than most, that I would very much like to talk about. Certainly more than any Simon & Schuster interactive movies.
Well, let me tell you else what I want to talk about in terms of going back to the well. Because anybody who has listened to probably at least 3 of our podcasts knows that I'm firmly in camp of fuck Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. You had to eat some crow.
Seasons 1 through 4 were amazing, and then it just went downhill. And that last season especially, I didn't watch the last episode. I got all the way through that whole long-ass series, all the water, the water cooler talk at work, everything else. I was in it just like everyone else. And by the end, I wouldn't even watch the last episode because I knew it was just going to get even worse somehow. And it's been to the point where when I see people out in public wearing a Game of Thrones t-shirt, I have to ask myself, is this person unhoused? Is this person wearing this shirt out of necessity? Did they have a house fire and this was literally the only thing that they could find?
Why would you admit to this? Yes.
Did they lose a bet? Why would you wear you went from being the coolest property. Anyways, I refuse to even consider House of the Dragon, and I mocked my wife for watching it. She said the first season was great and the second season was terrible. And I said, of course it was, because it's...
Casey is absolutely correct about that.
Game of Thrones. But I had to apologize for some stuff I did. And part of the recompense package offered was that I would watch this Night of the Seven Kingdoms with her. And it was fucking amazing, man. Half-hour episodes can make all the difference. And when you make something short and sweet like that, and I'm also watching this Common Side Effects, which has been really great. There's really something to be said about a half-hour TV show that does not require so much of you. But beyond that, just something that is lighthearted and sweet, and ultimately a feel-good story. And I forget, maybe it was Jay Miner on Discord, but said it's missing all of the emotional grime from Game of Thrones, and I think that's the biggest part of it.
Mm-hmm. It makes you actually like the universe for a change. You want to know more about it. You want to exist in it, which as good as Game of Thrones even is in the first 4 seasons, it's still a place you wouldn't want to go.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And this is the first time where you're like, oh, wow, actually being a knight in Westeros sounds pretty fucking cool.
Not only a place you'd want to go, but there's people in there that you wouldn't mind hanging out with. They're not all taking turns at who can be the most repulsive and cruel. That said, there's still ultra violent. I haven't had to turn away from a TV show or TV screen as many times as I did for this thing. I would put it at a 9 out of 10 just because I think the crassness was really unwarranted pretty much across the board.
It was done for comedy purposes,
I
which
know.
I like. I think there were some bold choices by the guy who made that show that I really liked, even though I didn't think all of the choices were correct, because at least he had like, I have a fucking vision of what this is going to be. I'm going to commit to that vision while still sticking very close to the material and expanding it only as much as necessary to make the entire plot feel better over the course of this relatively short runtime of 6 episodes. It's like 3.5 hours if you watch the whole thing. And yeah, like, is all the fecal jokes necessary? Is like the use of some jazz here and there, like during the intro, like the 6th episode or something, like exactly what I expected? No, but I get it, because you're setting a different kind of tone that's much more casual and much more approachable, which does work really well. And it's it does not sacrifice the seriousness of the story when it sets in either. It doesn't feel like it's disjointed. Like when you meet Baylor and you meet Makar and you kind of get into the deeper plot and everything that happens with that and Dunk's backstory, it's all still hits as deep as I think you could have possibly wanted, but it prevents the show from feeling like it's torture porn, it's terror porn. It's actually trying to tell a heroic story, and it does ultimately.
The insolence from Makor was like one of the high points of that show for me.
He's got such little brother energy, and you can just feel it. You did it perfectly.
Also, it's HBO. There's going to be nudity, especially with Game of Thrones. But I feel like ever since Seth Rogen got in, there is this camp of, I don't know what we're gonna flip the script. It's going to be all guy, ass, and dick.
We're gonna take away from the tits.
We're gonna do a lot of dick right now. It's just gonna be a lot of dick all over the place. And I'm gonna say this, like, has been my feelings on this. Like, you want to put dick in this show, go ahead. You need to have some boobs. All right, like,
this would be equal
opportunity. You've gone too far the other direction. Like,
you had that redhead that like ended up banging out the Apple guy.
Hey,
so
listen, Mr. Spoilers.
There's an opportunity there.
There's a lot. There are 2 opportunities there, right? So that was my good experience with TV. What is your experience with TV, Benjo?
Finally finished Starfleet Academy with the lads in Discord last night, actually. Again, as I've talked about on the last few episodes, it was really fun to watch because my wife got into it. So like dragging her into Star Trek stuff is very hard.
Into what? You sure? You sure about that?
Well, that's just it. She became more aware and more appreciative of good Star Trek as a consequence of watching. She's like more interested in watching good Star Trek now. So it's like a sort of like weird aversion therapy type of thing. And but most importantly, there was a dozen of us that turned out almost every week to watch it. It was fun to make fun of. I will say the show is the worst kind of bad. It is both terrible, boring, and not fun to watch unless like you have a dedicated crew of haters. It's not like it's not fun bad in the way that a lot of, say, The Acolyte was, because it was just so cringe. It was so obviously terrible so often. Where this is just languishes and wastes your time and is just so poorly written it doesn't even reach that point of like self-parody. But I will say, that experience aside, it did finally firmly convince me that Alex Kurtzman is ruining Star Trek on purpose. I mean that authentically. I think Picard season 3 radicalized him, that he was rejected by the fans of Star Trek, that his career was not going to progress further, that this was going nowhere sustainable because he couldn't convince these people of the product that he was making was worth watching. And rather than change, he chose specifically to do everything he possibly could to sabotage the brand in an act of resentment against Star Trek fans. Like, it does actually, I 100% believe that is at this point true.
I really don't want to talk about this guy. He has wasted enough of my time and the property's time and resources and goodwill. But to your point, when you are putting out material and you're getting bad ratings, Lower Decks I loved, but it was a minority product and it never really had a chance to be a flagship by any set. So
it never intended to be either.
You
It
know,
was intended to be
so
what it was,
so
and it
that's
did
off
okay
in
at
the
it.
corner, and it's doing okay, and it's not putting big numbers up on the board, but whatever. And in a lot of ways, Lower Decks does kind of follow the vibe of what he was trying to do as like a motif for Star Trek, but like then you get Discovery, which was the focus product, which just crashed and burned hard. Strange New Worlds comes along, and they do the thing that, and it's the same thing as like this Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, what stories are going to sell, and what the people want, right? This isn't rocket
Yeah.
science. It's setting aside your wants and putting out something that the public wants. And hey, when you do that and you give the people what they want and the thing they're watching it for, you get good results, and it does well. And now it's like, okay, how do I defend Discovery doing so poorly when over here Strange New Worlds is getting positive feedback from the audience, and then Picard is fucking terrible until you give people what they want with Picard, and then Picard season 3 is hailed as this great thing. And now it's not, you can't go back to the studio and say, listen, man, these are just wretched, toxic shit fans that are going to hate everything that comes out, and it is impossible to make this IP succeed because the people are miserable and times have moved on and blah, blah, blah. And here's excuses as to why I am failing. And now my underlings are wildly succeeding, and it is holding up this mirror that everybody can see. It's me. I am the problem. And,
Yep.
I think that is absolutely going to lead people to a point where it's like, fuck these fans, fuck this franchise.
100%. It's like I'm not saying anything because I think you and I are the same mind of all of this, what his thought process is. I for so long I held out on the idea that he was just delusional, that he was just not self-aware. No, he is self-aware. He knows he's hated. He knows that Star Trek is something that he has performed poorly with, and he has turned it into a resentment machine, and he's using politics as a way to kind of quote unquote get away with it. And he knows it's over. So he's taking his advantage where he can to do something as a sort of spiteful.
Why wouldn't you?
Last
because
act.
Realistically, who's going to pick Kurtzman up after this performance?
No one.
Fairmont.
I mean, I think that's at least not to the degree that he would ever get paid like he got paid again. I'm sure he'll get some kind of work.
Sure,
but it will be.
Someone's got to make Cheerios commercials or whatever.
Exactly.
But why wouldn't you thumb your nose and really just make a big mess on your way out? Because you're set for life financially. You don't need to work. You're not going to work in a meaningful capacity. So yes, indulge the petty side and just smite the thing that has burned you and broken you on your way out. So,
well,
I can't believe you watched all that crap. And I'm glad you managed to have fun while watching it.
It was a fun thing to do with the community, and has bound us together even closer than before. And let us celebrate that community, that unity, by discussing some good Star Trek. Peter, what did we watch this week?
We're getting into season 4, episode 5, Indiscretion. First aired October 23rd, 1995. Story by Tony Marbury and Jack Trevino. Teleplay by Nicholas Cora, directed by LeVar Burton. This is taking place 2372.
So we've talked about LeVar being in Voyager directing Jail, but obviously his first time out in Deep Space Nine much better.
Mm-hmm.
The writers on this are not like long-term writers' room guys. These are, I think, essentially hired guns. The interesting name to me here is Nicholas Correa, because he died in 1999. He died young, but he was a close friend of Mark Almo's, evidently, which adds some texture to this. This is one of my like secret DS9 favorite bangers. I've rewatched this episode in preparation for this 3 times because I've always loved it. And I think of all the things in this episode that I like, the thing that's most relevant to some of the discussions we've had in the past as it relates to like production details is this is a good example of the contrasting A plot, B plot synthesis.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is when you've got, some nice sharp cheese to go with your grapes, like, yes, they taste different, but they taste great together because one is cutting the other. This is perfection as it relates to A plot, B plot construction. Also, as I've mentioned on the show many times, I'm a huge Westerns fan, and the fact that they basically just rip off the plot of The Searchers to do this episode, I don't mind because they even have Kira say that'll be the day, like John Wayne. Like they just they did everything that was meant for me personally to enjoy, and so I have a huge soft spot in my heart for this.
I don't care for the B plot, and the deeper we go in with this Cassidy Yates stuff, the more I'm just kind of like, whatever.
I think you and I are going to have radically different opinions about Cassidy as time goes on. I'm a huge Sisko Cassidy Yates fan, and you are like, I'm not buying this.
She's not bad. It's just, I think there's a lot better stories they could be putting on screen. And the interesting part of Cassidy Yates is that she is the storytelling device to call up Ben Sisko's humanity, and be able to look at him as something other than a side-scrolling beat-em-up button masher character.
He's Axel. He's rolling dudes left and right.
You know, very frequently we get to see this guy as a no bullshit commander. Sometimes we get to see him as a street fighter. And it's only really through Jake that we get to see him as a man, a wounded person. And it's been a while since, I want to say, I can't tell you the last time it was like, hey, we're both hurt from the Borg. Like the shoots and there was some episode like shortly after he got sucked into shoots and ladders, where Jake's having bad dreams and Sisko's comforting him, being like, no, it's Mom's death's anniversary and this is a big day.
Oh yeah, I remember. I forget what episode that's in, but I remember that scene.
So Cassidy Yates is this vehicle to explore Sisko's lingering trauma.
Yeah.
Because by the end he's forced to confront the fact that like he hasn't been in a real relationship, nor was he even considering really getting back into that lifestyle. And why would he? Because this guy is past his ears in the shit right now. You've got a job where you are responsible for an entire space station that is dysfunctional for a variety of reasons. You've got this goofy, stupid provisional government that you're having to interface with to try to get Bajor into the Federation, on top of whatever nonsense crazy space Karen Kai Wynn is throwing your way, on top of this ovipositor of bullshit that has been dropping weekly dilemmas on you,
on top of being literally Space Moses to the very same people that you are trying to get into the Federation, making your relationship with Kai Karen even worse than it was before because she resents you for it.
You're a dad through all of this, and you got to worry about your son.
Yeah.
And a widower in that. There is space war coming, and this is going to be a space war unlike anything you've ever dealt with before, because these doppelganger changelings are taking asymmetrical warfare to a level that nobody could be prepared for, and all the Klingon nonsense. So, like, why would you get into some sort of a romantic relationship that's A, going to consume your time, and B, become another emotional liability for someone you're going to have to worry about? And they touch on this a little bit, I think, a good way. And in him saying, Cassidy, I lost my last wife to the Borg. If something ever happened to you, I don't know. Like, okay, hey, what a great time to talk about your son who is living here with you at what was
the Doom level,
the Alamo, right?
Yes.
Do you think Custer had his son chilling out there with a year worth of notice that a massacre was coming their way? Like, get rid of this fucking kid, Sisko.
Well, he's 18 now, so he can make his own decisions. I agree. Like, that is the purpose of the B plot. I think it makes sense though that you use the relationship to provide some more humanity to your main character. And also, even though he's got a lot going on, it is natural for like men in particular to still seek companionship, right? Like, it just is. And this is really what the episode is about. It's about two different kinds of relationships that are going on or did go on, or one party wants to go on, and the A plot and the B plot mirror each other in that way, even though obviously there's a vast gap in the seriousness in which the plot carries forward. One is much more casual and funny, and one is much more serious and asking real big fucking questions. And I think that dichotomy works extremely well. We open with Kira doing what she always does, which is trying to pray, but then getting interrupted by something. In this case, Dwarf in his one shot of the episode. We do have a bit of that where we have like, all right, here's your one scene, everybody. Because we're really going to be focusing on 2 stories and a lot of guest actors. And to let Kira know that some guy named Razka Karn is wanting to talk, and it is a your bog standard greasy smuggler contact that you had back in the Resistance. It's exactly the sort of ne'er-do-well friend you would expect someone like Kira to have from her terrorist days. And he is calling up because he has some evidence of the fate of a ship called the Ravenok. And this is apparently important enough that Kira is contemplating going herself to wherever this guy is hiding to discuss that.
First off, was it Jesse Lightyear that posted that meme?
Oh, the Bajoran militia one?
The Bajoran gas station one?
Yes.
Using this, like, how fucking perfect. I need to fish that out of Discord and repost that onto the Facebook trauma support group, because that was perfect content for us.
Yes.
Do you recognize this guy, Joe?
I did not. Who plays this guy? He's had a very familiar sounding voice.
Yes, a very nasally, annoying, dickish voice. This guy is Kohlrami. He's like the nutsack face looking wrinkly puss.
Yeah, the Zactor and strategy guy.
Stratagema. He's where they put the fiber optic cables on into his fingers and data, and they were like playing like some sort of like StarCraft or whatever.
Yes.
His chin jowls just jiggling around. And they shoot this guy so low too. Like they do him real dirty. But this is a real interesting character, and this is the stuff that I like, when we would kind of brush up against this in Voyager, and it's like people who do not live in a post-scarcity utopia, people who are doing naughty things to make a paycheck, which is interesting.
He's out there grinding the scrap metal trade, and maybe some other things on the side.
And that's the cool thing about Cassidy Yates too, is that she's getting out of the private space trucking, and she's gonna be an owner operator for the Bajoran government, hauling their shit around.
It was such a relatable piece of like, I'm done like taking contract jobs. I'm gonna be a regular owner operator so that I can like do a route and then come and have a home.
They're giving me a sign-in bonus. I'm getting some newer transporters. So this guy's hitting up Kira to be like, hey, listen, I got some scrap off a Ferengi trainer, and I think it's from this ship. I can't come to you because I'm hiding from the Tholians in the Badlands. I love the amount of like significant and mentionable space that the Badlands occupies in the Deep Space Nine story, for as important as it was to Voyager.
Yeah, you need to have like the space woods, where the bandits can hide out.
Yes,
that's exactly the intention. And it's kind of nebulous. Like, where is it? How big is it? Like, you know what? That detail doesn't always matter very much. You just need space woods where the bandits are. Dangerous territory that you have to like gently venture into and never particularly conquer or never be safe in, so that you can have hideouts and weird shit happen within distance of, where your story is primarily taking place. And it does that very well.
Good scene with Odo, where we see Odo is continuing to grow as a person, because Kira brings us info that, hey, the Reznok or whatever.
Ravenok.
I got some stuff about it, and Odo rolls his eyes, and she's like, I know you're going to say this is ridiculous and everybody's dead and this and that. And he's just like, we both know you're going to go check this thing out. And there's no way you're not. So what I'm going to tell you is good luck. Surprised that he doesn't offer to go with her, but obviously that's not the story they're looking to tell here.
It's a great, like, if you're going to have like your one Odo scene, perfect, right? Like, they're friends. He knows her well enough. And like you said, he's emotionally matured such that he's just going to say, I know you're going to do this. And I'm going to kind of encourage you to just accept that you know you're going to do this too. It's a deftness that he wouldn't have shown a few seasons prior. That's
I think it's a deference that he would not show anyone else currently. Like, he is clearly sweet on her. And this is him playing favorites, and this is his crush, or whatever you want to call it, bleeding through, where Kira is getting a level of emotional maturity from him that nobody else on this station is getting.
However, before Kira can go on her mission to check this out, Sisko pays her a visit, pays her a visit in her quarters, with a very pensive look on his face. I like the dynamic here where Sisko is like, I don't know how the Cardassian government found out about your mission, but they did, and they want to send someone with you. And he is not ordering her to say yes in this scene. He does not do so. He does not indicate that he will do so. He says that he would, what he told the Cardassian governments, that he would ask Kira to see if she would agree. And Kira knows she has to say yes, right? She knows that the political circumstances presently in place with this new civilian government and the need for Bajor to cooperate with Cardassia is putting her in a position where yes is absolutely the answer she has to give. But she's not going to give it until she works through her feelings. And Sisko is there to kind of allow her that space of arguing about this with somebody who's going to take a more rational position. And this is one of the very first times I can remember Sisko using Kira's actual like first name, quote unquote, her last name, which is her first name in Bajoran naming conventions, calls her Nerys. To like emphasize, like, you're gonna have to get comfortable with treating Cardassians as people. I don't know what to tell you.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
You've spent 3 seasons telling us, allegedly, how bad the occupation of Bajor was, despite everything that we've seen of Bajor being beautiful.
A paradise. Yes.
She has murdered a lot of Cardassians in her old capacity. She's murdered a lot of Cardassians in her current capacity. And for the universe to be so big and scary out here, that it is foreseeable in the future that Bajor would side with Cardassia and reject the Federation to protect themselves from the Klingons, right? Because that's all essentially canon, right? Like, had Jake not disrupted the timeline.
Yeah. I mean, the lack of Sisko present as the emissary might have led to a retreat to safety. And
it's not might. It did. Like,
yeah.
We saw the ghost of Christmas future or whatever. And everything we're seeing along these trajectories continue to reinforce that is a real possibility. So, like, it is a huge ask on Kira. It's a huge ask on the Bajoran people of like what everybody is being expected to swallow here after everything that has happened. And what I like about this episode is later on when they get into the prison camp and they start liberating people, like the kind of the shock on the Cardassians' faces and the Bajorans that like this is a joint rescue, and like these people who are still back in the old ways and like seeing them try to like be confronted with that in the moment. So
the sort of stress point between it was a Cardassian ship with a Cardassian crew carrying literal Bajoran prisoners, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so both sides have a claim to want to know what happened, but clearly there's a tension you don't even need to kind of speak out loud in that dynamic. But ultimately, Sisko holds his ground sufficiently that Kira agrees, and does her bites back way of like, they got to be here in 2 days or I'm fucking leaving. And Sisko be like, all right, I'll tell him. Like, thanks for getting a yes. I appreciate you. Of course,
I did real quick, by the way, I watched the whole intro to see what you're talking about with like the music changes.
Yeah.
They're awful. That like,
yeah, it's bad.
Kind of like that synthy
backbeat. Just unnecessary.
It is out of sync, I feel, with the actual like orchestral overture. So it's like the tempo is different between the two of them, and it is distracting. Who the fuck approved that? That's terrible.
Yeah. At least I could see the reason for the change in the Enterprise theme music, and I think we disagree, but I think it was for the better to try and like busy it up. This was unnecessary. I don't know why they chose to do this, and they stick with it the rest of the show. It's like, okay.
It's discordant is what I would call it. Like, I like how much busier the station seems.
Yeah, the visuals are better.
But yeah, like, yikes. What the fuck?
So
surprise. Guess who the Cardassian representative is going to be?
Well, hold on. We do have the B plot kind of like makes its appearance here, and this is my favorite scene from the B plot, so I don't want to skip over it.
All right.
What have we talked about? Dax. Dax is best when she's fucking around with other people's business.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in the docking area. They're walking and talking about Cassidy Yates. You know, Dax says, hey, how's your relationship with Captain Yates going? Oh, it's going great. But do you think she wants to be serious? Oh, I don't think she wants to be serious. And then, of course, she rounds the corner, right? As her name is invoked. That happens a couple different times in this episode.
She almost like she was hanging by spying. Just out
and
of
rolls
view.
up to say,
again, my money is on Changeling.
She rolls up to say, hey, I want to tell you news that very clearly indicates that I want to become more serious with you, right? Like, I'm going to get a new job. I'm going to be able to operate out of the sector. I'll be around more often. And, so I love how Avery Brooks just plays this, kind of gets stun locked by this news. And then Dax, being the fucking, imp that she is, and like the shitlord best friend that Dax was already once to Sisko and is again. It's like, oh hey Cassidy, where are you gonna live? Oh, on my ship. You should live on the station. And the slow head turn that Avery Brooks does to look at Dax as he says that, it's like, it's the 24th century. Am I allowed to hit women? I just want to slap you so hard. And it's not like, it's exactly the sort of thing Curzon would have done to Sisko. You could like see that, like that's the kind of friendship they had, except now Jadzia is doing it the way a woman would do it. And this is exactly the way a woman would do it. Like, I'm going to force you to confront exactly what I'm seeing is bothering you right now, because that's the kind of friendship we have. And it's all just in the head turn, the silent head turn of just staring daggers at her for saying that. And then like slowly turning back and be like, yeah, that's great. I'm very excited. Just, if Trek is relatable, it's in shit like this, right? Like, okay, I get it. I see it all.
She is awful about this too. Like, there's been several times in recent memory where like she basically farts and then just runs out of the room and leaves everybody to deal with it.
Yes. It's awesome.
Eventually, I think people are going to have to just come in her bedroom while she's sleeping and like Full Metal Jacket give her a blanket party or whatever that was. Their soap and their towel, and they just pin her to the bed and beat her about the stomach. I don't know how else to reconcile this. How do you fix a problem? Because there's no counselor around to like confront her on this. So I think only corporal pain.
It's funny you should mention there isn't a counselor around. We'll get to that in a few years. But I just, again, like all of the beats for the B plot are comedy relationship stuff for the most part until the end. And I think it's all very well paced, just like the scene of like, it's all in the small stuff. It's all in the interpersonal relationships here. And Dax being the shitlord best friend, I love it. It's my favorite character beat for her. But as you mentioned, surprise, who is the guy who shows up to be the Cardassian helper here? Oh, wouldn't you know it?
It's a general.
Yes, Leggett. He's got the thing on. Dukat. He got promoted by choosing the right side in the Civil War. Many such cases.
Well, choosing the right side, as well as being prepared to go down with the ship, like they should have been dead, right?
Yeah.
Defiant.
He saved all their lives. Mm-hmm.
So he's sitting real pretty, and he's going to come out, and it's going to be him and Kira Nerys on this thing. You know, feels like only yesterday uh, Gul Dukat was sitting there in his old office chair telling Kieran Reese, you're going to let me put a garrison of troops on this, or I'm going to let all the women, children, and everybody else die as our old booby trap self-defense system kills you all in civil defense. Like,
With gas. We're going to gas you all. We're going to turn this fucking place into Auschwitz.
you've got all this dirt under your fingernails from being in charge of the entire occupation, on top of all of the other woe and hardship you've caused since this thing has taken over. And granted, here and there you've been a friend. You know, I'm not gonna take anything away from your fireworks display. You celebrated
Exactly. It was so nice.
when faster than lumber sailing ship flew in at warp speeds to Cardassia Prime or whatever. But like everybody just been like, okay, Dukat, you can go off with Kira, who you've already basically been called out as being sweet or like creepily into by Garrick, right?
That is correct.
So yeah, we need a story where these two are alone, but like Odo and everybody else just being hands off, like, okay, have fun, you two.
I mean, if anyone can handle Dukat, it would be Kira. I think would be the thought process amongst everyone's like this lady's racked up enough Cardassian bodies that, you know, she does something that he shouldn't have and doesn't come back. I don't think anyone would question it, but it is the way to get these two together. And it was time to get these two together. Their fates are too destined to have to be in close alignment given the stories that we're going to be telling. And I think first patterning the whole thing off the searchers of like, we're going to go to planet Wild West and we're going to be on the hunt for a, you know, essentially family member that one party has negative designs on for complicated personal reasons is a good way to build that story. I mean, Mark Elmo absolutely feasts in every possible scene that he is in this. He always does, right? He never isn't. And Nana Vister is just the best possible foil for him. She's not a standard reads as a woman type of character, right? Like that's her whole bag is she's complicated. She's been a terrorist. She's a military officer, but she's also very, you know, she's feminine in many ways, but not so much in the way that other female characters tend to be. She's very much capable of aggression and pushing back and taking charge and not being the damsel in distress. That's not her. They even did a joke in Way of the Warrior about how she's just unaccustomed to the idea of playing, a damsel type of character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't understand it. And so pairing her with Dukat, having Dukat very clearly very attracted to her while she just keeps rejecting him, and that he likes that a lot. And like, what does that say about how they're relating to each other is really cool. And then, you know, like Dukat finally gets to start talking about his vision of what he thinks he's done for the Bajoran people and how that contrasts with reality and how convinced he is of him is also fascinating. Where he's sitting like, I've reforged the Bajoran people from being a weak contemplative race to being, you know, grabbing their destiny and truly coming into their own in the galaxy. And he's like, bitch, you fucking murdered shit ton of us for 50 years. Fuck you. Fuck you so hard. I love it.
I call this section of the TV show Dukat Wants to Get Hit. Because I think if there was ever a time to punch him, it would have been right here. Why do you think Dukat feels this way? Do you think these are all genuine, disconnected, delusional thoughts? Do you think that Dukat deep down inside knows what he was a part of was fucking terrible, and this is how he is self-rationalizing and coping with it?
Well, I know the answer to that question, so I can't speculate. I would prefer to hear your thoughts.
I mean, Dukat's not a stupid guy. And what I really like is deeper in this, he sees the writing on the wall, and he knows that the occupation is going to come to a close, and that he had to get who off the planet because he is in touch with reality. So I guess knowing that he's playing this guy as the main character in his head, that Dukat's got a lot of emotional baggage, and that he cannot show weakness because of their culture, because of the politics of Cardassia. That's like really his motivation here. It's like, I got to clean up my loose ends. And this is the second time he said to like go clean up loose ends. Like, these Cardassians love going after each other's families.
And the tension in Dukat's family is why he's there ultimately, right? Like,
Right.
he is now a politically elevated man. He's a legate. He's the primary military advisor to the new government. He has finally kind of made his way into the top echelon of his society. But the ironclad familial relationships of Cardassia make it so that if anyone found out that he had not just a mistress, but a Bajoran mistress, and had a kid with them, and that kid was a teenager, like, so that relationship went on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
This is ruinous to his reputation. Like, it is clearly attempting to bring into the forefront like the complications that come with Germans occupying so much of Europe during World War II and inevitably having mistresses of the native population. It happened. There are tons of stories about it. And you are humanizing an oppressive force in that, right? Like, that they're still people, they're still humans, they still relate to each other the way you would expect humans to relate to each other. And so, is it surprising or even that absurd that Gul Dukat would fall in love with a Bajoran woman and have a long-term romantic relationship with her, such that they have a child together that was a teenager by the time of their disappearance? No, that's not strange at all. But we know enough about Cardassian society, thanks to the last few seasons, that is not going to be acceptable to them. Not because of the infidelity, but because it was with a Bajoran. Like, the combination, and having a kid, having essentially a bi-species child. That those are things that the Cardassian society would reject. That is why he was trying to hide them, and it is why he is there personally with no one else except for Kira, because he is weighing the potential need to preserve his position socially, to dispose of the evidence of his indiscretion. There's the title of your episode. Before it comes to light and ruins his career. And that being the plot, the actual plot, is a deep cut for something like Star Trek, right? Like, you don't get that kind of texture in this show very often. And Deep Space Nine is the show where they're like, you know what, maybe we should just do that all the time. And it's why it's beloved. It's because of shit like this. And this is why I think I love this episode as much as I do.
So, in the end, I think that this is defense mechanism for him. I think that he knows that he was the bad guy, and that the Cardassians were the bad guys, and that there's a lot of blood on his hands. And he also knows who Kira Nerys is. He has a thing for her, clearly.
Yes.
And he is open to screwing around behind his wife's back. Like, this is someone he is actively pursuing. And him being a smart guy, like, he's not going to get, like, he can't be like, oh my God, what we did, you guys, was so bad, and it really kept me up at night. And like,
he's not doing that. He's still self-deluded enough that he thinks that he was the hero.
I think he knows that he can't do that because Kira would never accept it. So it's like, all right, what are the options on the table? And I'm just going to be a cocky asshole and piss her off because attention's attention. And I would rather her be pissed and seething and thinking about me than being quiet and respectful and her not thinking about me at all. Like, this guy.
And what did we discover about Cardassians flirting with Chief
Negging
O'Brien?
is a big deal.
Negging is a big deal.
So
there it is.
I think that whole speech about, we've lifted you guys out of it, like, that is copium. That is him trying to make the best out of a miserable situation to himself, to alleviate his own guilt, and to get a rise out of her, which clearly it does.
when they get to the planet, which is not shot at Vasquez Rocks, but is that shot in like some quarry in Southern California that is a very similar kind of like reused outdoor set, particularly for Deep Space Nine in the future. And they find the wreck. You know, it's a classic. Oh, there's ionic interference, so we can't use magic tech. We've got to like do this the old-fashioned way. Okay, cool.
Thank you for the throwaway spackle. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and it helps. They write the plot around it.
Mm-hmm.
Great directorial stuff by LeVar Burton, by the way. Lots of like great close-ups, in my opinion, particularly of Mark Elmo. You know, they find the wreck. They find a bunch of bodies that had been buried.
Real quick, you know, they're shooting outdoor. They're under the sun. I don't know if they're doing early mornings. Like, there's some filter work to make it look a lot hotter.
Yeah.
I feel bad for this guy in the full makeup and everything else. At the same time, I'm impressed that the makeup holds itself together as well as it does with all that bright lighting and whatever sweating he's got going on.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of reapplication between takes. But
Kira out there with her velvet jumpsuit. And boy, I'm watching close-ups on her face. The amount of shit on her nose, her Bajoran ridges, is basically non-existent at this point. She may as well just be wrinkling her nose at something. We've talked before about Bajor as a insufficient alien culture. Like, they are just humans at this point. They're not even trying.
Their differences are essentially social in nature and not at all physiologically. And okay, I mean, I don't need them to be alien in appearance. We have the Cardassians for that.
Sure.
I could have used, like you've pointed out a couple times, where maybe like the Bajorans just don't have the same kinds of social grace that humans are used to, because they have just very different cultural background. It's like a little bit more of that would have been nice. But I agree. Like the makeup on Dukat holds up great. It looks great. The way they do the lighting outside, it like the contrast that they do come off fantastic. When Dukat finds the bodies, he does this great monologue about funeral rites and understanding like the difference between Cardassian and Bajoran understanding of the afterlife. He has a clear, deep cultural understanding of the Bajorans, is what that's intended to convey. He can quote past Kais talking about what happens to the spirit when it dies. And that the fact that Cardassians have very strict funeral rites about only other Cardassians can be there, that also tracks.
It's a great entry into anyone can manipulate Kira by quoting the Bible.
Yes.
And that's usually showcased by her versus Kai Wynn. And you know, that's the classic pairing there. But like, even someone like Dukat, who she should have nothing but contempt and distrust of, and him being like, listen, here's the fact. You have sworn yourself as a zealot to this religious stuff, and here's hard evidence for you to need to fuck off now. And she's like, oh, all right, I guess I'll go hack the planet or whatever over here. There is one more entry into the B plot here that I want to talk about real quick before they get into the exhuming the corpses. Sisko's sitting there with Dax and Bashir, and him letting Bashir into his business was the real interesting point to me. They are rapidly developing Sisko as this community-involved, community-active leader, where you look at his relationship with Bashir in season 1, because I've been going back listening to some of our old episodes, like, he was a real motherfucker to Julian and held this guy like in a he's like just straight up bullies him. And now you've got him willing to sit there and like let him deep into his personal life and offer advice.
It's demonstrating that his relationship with these people has evolved significantly, and he's allowing that. I think it's a nice way to show that.
Again, it's further in this. This is not Picard, and the rate at which they're developing these ties between him and the rest of his senior staff, I think it feels very organic and welcome. And he's not like inviting it, but they're picking at his situation, and he is allowing it.
Yes,
he to the point where even Quark comes over and chimes in with a very chauvinist attitude.
Who knows
And
more about women than me? And it's like, actually, he's got a good point.
he's
No
got a
one's seen more
fucking
poor play than Quark.
great point. And also, everything Quark is saying right now is a goddamn lie, because there's been nobody who has let women walk all over this guy like he has, to the point where he's ready to throw everything away.
Every time he let Loverboy catches on to something, he's ready to toss it all into the furnace, man.
So this guy's talking straight bullshit, and by the end they're like, okay, well, if you do any of the stuff that Quark's recommending, I don't think you're gonna have a girlfriend anymore. And then he's like, and that's what the holosuites are for. Rentable by the hour. As a reminder to everybody watching at home, that is a cum room where you.
We've made that clear in the show. The holosuites are for fucking.
But yeah.
They had the scene where they have the classic dinner miscommunication where Sisko says that's a big step, like reflexively to Cassidy living on the station, and he's clearly just discomforted by commitment, and Cassidy picks up on that, but they don't really talk about why, and she kind of storms off. And they're talking about, like, this is all framed around the way he said it's a big step, and basically Dax and Bashir are making fun of him for making such a clear relationship faux pas. So you didn't say it was a very big step, did you? Like, and they tie a nice comedic bow on it of like, he ends the conversation by saying, thank you for your input, and then leaves. And Dax turns to Bashir and is like, so what do you think? He says, it's a big step. Like, it's true. It is a big step. It's a tough situation that he's in.
Perfect comedy.
Yes.
So he's like, well, what do you think? She's like, it's a big step. It's a real big step. Like, just absolutely agreeing with what he said. Very good, lighthearted writing there.
Yes. And we'll tie up the B plot real quick, because I think we want to focus on the A plot for the rest of the way. Jake is the one that sort of breaks the freeze on him when he comes in, and just does actually just barrel through, like, Sisko trying to play him off of like, you don't understand women, and he's like, actually I do, Dad, so let me explain how you fucked all this up and what you should do. And he just has to sit there and accept it. And this, again, it's another great comedy beat of, oh, my son's a man now, so I can't really tell him that he's wrong. I've met his girlfriends, like, okay, yeah, all right, and you spoke to her, huh? And this is your take? Okay, well, very good. Like, just again, all in the face, all in the little reactions of like, oh man, my son's like a man now, and he's telling me what the business is, and he's brought Nog in all of this, and the worst
having
part is
Nog also picking through your personal
and that they're right, that they're fucking right, like that he can't. There's nothing he can say. You're all fucking correct. This is what I do have to do. Fuck.
I don't know. You got this very dominant leader guy, and then his own personal affairs, he becomes very submissive to the point where he's like, everybody else is making choices for him.
You gotta give him, you gotta contrast things, though. I think it makes sense.
Sure, it does make sense. I'm just saying it is an interesting writing for this character. So they go down this path of like, you fucked up, you're gonna have to go kiss ass, make things right. And Cassidy continues to play the upper hand throughout it. Turns out she didn't pass on the job after all. She took it. She wasn't give things up just for him. They're going to get
She
together.
Also acknowledges like where Sisko's hesitation came from of, your wife got killed because you're a Starfleet officer and you're worried that's going to happen to me too. And I have to convince you, don't worry about that. Right. I'm not your wife in the sense that, I followed you around your career and I was subject to the whims of fate as a consequence of what you got yourself involved with that. I've got my own thing I'm doing. I'm a very different person than your wife, and I get it. I understand it. I acknowledge it. I'm forgiving you because of it, but this is your lesson of you're going to have to treat me differently if you want this relationship to continue, which he does kind of get, which is what he's being told by everybody.
That's very cut him a lot too. Like, let's put the gravity into this bullshit sci-fi TV show. This guy went through the Space 9/11.
Yes.
This guy was there for Wolf 359. This is the worst thing that has happened to a Federation citizen since
ever.
What?
Possibly. As far as like things shown on screen, it was the worst thing that ever happened.
I mean, I'm not going to take Discovery as canon as to what the Klingon Federation war looked like. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you really conceptualize something. I mean, potentially the Xindi attack on Earth.
Yeah, and that was
Potentially.
pre-Federation, so it was hundreds of years ago. So in terms of
But
the living memory of anyone around, this is definitely the worst thing that's happened to the Federation.
and again, these are people who season 1 of Next Generation, Gene Roddenberry is like, these are people who have evolved beyond getting headaches. When Picard gets a headache, you know, Crusher
Beverly's
acts
like,
like,
"Oh my
oh my
god."
God, he's got the plague, the bubonic plague. I've heard rumors of this thing. So she needs to really give him a wide berth. And again, for all the reasons we talked about before, like this dude's staring down war. There's all this other crazy shit going on. You're trying to get involved with this guy in the most complicated point of his entire life. And this is a guy who lived through Wolf 359. Like, chill out. But it's all in good fun. I like when he goes to give her a kiss and she like squirms out of it. Back on the planet. So
Yeah.
what's happened is the ship has crashed. They know there were survivors because they buried the dead. And now it's a
Yep.
question of where are they at. Dukat digs these people up. He finds a Bajoran necklace that he cares about. Kira starts putting pieces together, figures out this dude's probably got a mistress. There's some veiled disgust out of her that a Bajoran could be with the enemy. And there's
some softness out of Dukat of like, no, we were in love and it was a long-term relationship, and he doesn't want to talk about it, which is a rare moment of emotional vulnerability that we've never seen out of him. And later on, they pull up camp because they're pursuing a isotope trail that one
came
of
out of
the
what, Joe? A subdermal implant?
implant. Yeah,
Wow.
not a communicator, but an implant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What wild technology if only Voyager had access to. I noticed that wasn't on the Across the Unknown technology trees either.
Missed that one, boys.
I got a ablative armor and phaser control 5, but no subdermal implants. Sad.
They ultimately pull up stakes for camp. They have a comedy beat where Dukat literally sits on a giant spike that Kira has to pull out of his ass and then like use a dermal regenerator on to sort of like get them laughing together as a sort of way to soften their relationship.
I was confused at that point, and I was like, are they on a crazy planet where like they're being affected by toxins in the atmosphere that's making them high right now? This is going real deep in the slapstick.
The scene breaks the tension by doing that and allows Kira the space to say, like, I'm going to start talking to you about the fact that I know you basically had an illegitimate child with your mistress and she was on the ship. To which Dukat then subverts by admitting to it and then saying, no, I'm not here to rescue her. I'm here to kill her. And when they cut back, they're like still like it's the next day. They're walking. He's trying to make the case of why he has to do this relating to, there's no place for her. But we know the real reason because of what we understand about Cardassian society, which goes unspoken, by the way, in the episode about your life would be ruined if you admitted to this. But that's the plot of the Searchers element that I really like. Like that is a difficult idea to put into a show like this, and they do.
I mean, everybody listening is intelligent, and A, there's a political liability. B, it would be hard for her to be this mixed race thing living between.
It's a huge social taboo. Like, it's Cardassians are racist.
Here's the Game of Thrones things. Like, how does Ned Stark go back and be like, oh, hey, I got a kid and it's not with you, wife. And what is that going to make my home life look like?
Right. And that's a society where that's more accepted, where this just isn't. And it's with a foreigner, which is even worse. It's not even with another Cardassian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where there's probably a lot more accepted, not necessarily acceptedness, but there's probably a sort of quiet social policy as it relates to men cheating on their wives with other Cardassian women. But with a Bajoran, and you had a kid, and you brought her here, ooh. So, Kira,
you're lucky you just got this big promotion. Otherwise, I would leave you. I like that the episode will later call out why he is being so open about all of this with her. Like, here's my nefarious plan to murder a child. My child. There's no way that Kieran and Reese is going to let this fucking fly.
Yes, that's what he told her.
He is telling her this because he deep down doesn't want to do it. And this is an opportunity for him to give up agency on this and leave.
He wants to be convinced. He wants to be stopped. He has there's some morality to Gul Dukat. That's what that says. He's a villain. He's a bad guy, but he is not a total monster. And he realizes he's committing to doing something that he really shouldn't be doing. And he's going to tell the one person that could credibly stop him for a reason. She even says, like, I'll fucking kill you if you do that. Mm-hmm. And he knows that's true, right? Like, she's no hesitation killing Cardassians, especially this one. So this is perfectly good cause. They do find the survivors. This is our first introduction to the Breen, shockingly enough, who are in some goofy ass looking suits. Sorry to say.
Get over these fucking suits. Like, yes. How do you, as anybody in the side, how do you work for Star Trek, see these fucking outfits, and not immediately go, is it Princess Leia in there? Like, what was that called? Her bounty hunting outfit, right, from Return of the Jedi?
Correct.
What is that formally called?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a Star Wars nerd enough to like know those details from Wikipedia, which I'm sure there are. But what's more shocking to... Oh, yeah, that was the guy that she was impersonating, Bosch. These suits look cheesy as fuck. They look like some kind of cross between Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, like old Cylon suits. And with the red fucking light and everything. And they decide to turn these guys into major players later on. And they don't change their fucking suits. They just use these again. And I'm like, this is some low grade TNG level looking shit, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is
not only is it TNG looking, it is very visually like identifiable as Star Wars. I do like the canon that had been offered before that these are the guys from Dear Doctor.
Oh yeah. Those were the Breen. Was that this is what they turned into?
I'm gonna proceed forward with that.
Apparently whatever their home world is, it's very cold, so they need slave labor to mine this dilithium that no one's found because this planet's got this ionic interference and it's in the Badlands. So it's like they're off the books, dirty dilithium mine. And there's a bit of tension of like, you're going to go back and get help. I'm going to go back and get help. All right. We can't let each other do that. So we're going to come up with a plan. What's the plan? I don't know. I guess like find a couple guards, kill them, take their suits, and then kill all the other guards. Not the most sophisticated plan, but this is Star Trek. Those are usually how the plans
hero
go.
Characters, and we have plot armor. So
it's like, quick, Dukat, try to sell me as a prostitute. O'Brien did that one time when we had this exact same situation, and it worked like a charm.
Yeah, these guys can't take their dicks out or they're going to fucking catch on fire here. So I like this part of Deep Space Nine where something that would be the major plot of another Star Trek show is just like a speed bump they race over. Like, we don't... planning the jailbreak here is
immaterial.
Not the story.
No.
Whatever judo chops happen. You know how this happens. They're in the outfits. Yeah. They just so happen big ass Mark Alamo, Nana Vister. They both find appropriate size guard outfits.
Quick, they're our size. Let's get them.
Like they rush in there, pop the masks off, and again, I love that these Bajoran prisoners, who are, I assume, rebels, right?
Yeah.
That these guys were part of, and also too, there was a good scene earlier on with. Dukat.
They've been here 6 years too, by the way.
Dukat actually praising what was his name? Shira Terran Network.
Oh, the Shakara Resistance Cell. Yeah, the reason they're here, we haven't talked about it because it's kind of a minor point of the episode, is that the person that recruited Kira to that cell was on this ship. And she's obviously extraordinarily loyal to everybody that she was in the Shakara Resistance Cell with. Very consistent character idea. That guy's going to end up not being in the episode because he had died a couple of years prior. Actually survived the crash, but did not survive being a mining slave. And they've been here for 6 years. Okay, so it's been a long time. They're still doing it. They're still enslaved, mining dilithium. And they bust in, and the tension is Dukat going to kill Tora Ziyal? Ziyal is Dukat's daughter. In this episode, she is played by Saya Batten. Saya Batten is better known to us as one of the hot Orion girls from Bound. She was also the space elf hottie from Drive when they were doing the drag racing in the Delta Flyer. Zial is one of those other, like, she's going to show up for like 10 episodes. She's actually a pretty important character. They really struggled with finding the actress they wanted for this. They recast her twice after this.
I thought she was a pretty good daughter here.
I thought she did a great job. I'm surprised they didn't stick with her. I guess later on, I don't want to spoil anything as to why they probably recasted her, but there's a very specific reason about who she reads against, and maybe they wanted someone who looked older, I suppose. But I thought she pulled down exactly what was intended here, which is she was 13 when she knew Dukat as her father, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I've never met you, Dad, before. She clearly idolized her father.
Yep.
And you get all of that from when he confronts her, and she's like overjoyed to see him, and then raises the weapon like he's going to do it, and she even says like, "Oh, the Cardassians told me you might do this."
Not might, would.
Yeah. And says, "I don't care. All that's kept me alive is the fantasy that you would come to rescue me. And if I can't live with you, then I'd rather you kill me anyway."
I want to live in the world where these people are, because the war never stopped. Like, this is such a potent scene when they do this jailbreak. It was like, oh my God, we're saved. The
war's over. There's a treaty.
The guy takes his mask off, and like, everybody should know goddamn well what Gul Dukat looks like. They're all terrorists. They're all out to kill this guy. I'm like, we are being rescued by Gul Dukat himself, and he's working with like, what a crazy world fuck here. And the world in this camp is the guards and the prisoners crash, and maybe they band together for a little bit, but then they get oppressed, and you can start drawing these lines again. And like, all of the guards, like, oh, whoever you're, like, it coming to light, like, Gul Dukat sired me. And all of them being like, you have no happy ending waiting for you, honey. Like, you are gonna fucking die. Like, this is got to be such a toxic ass little group here. So like, just the confusion, whatever. I'm surprised the Bajoran guy didn't just shoot Dukat on the spot when he pulled his mask off.
Probably too much shock. Like, I don't know what's going on, but we got to get the fuck out of here. And then I do think that there's a possibility that Tora Zial is probably the most beloved out of all of them, because she is both Cardassian and Bajoran, and everyone thinks she's doomed. And she just, there's something about that innocence that can probably bind a group of people together better.
Sure.
And again, this is the first time she's on screen. This is the first time we've heard her talk. And immediately I'm sold on the idea of, like, she adores her father. And it actually is what ends up, like, disarming Dukat, where he's like, I can't kill you. Oh my God, you love me. I love you. You're my kid. I'm so sorry I even thought of it. You see it. And Kira watches it happen. He watches this guy have a soul. And it's like, oh, fuck to it. Are you not a monster? Like, oh no. Like, I know you just did the bare minimum and didn't kill your daughter, but I also, like, understand that was a real fucking choice you just made. And you made it at a cost to yourself, inevitably. I don't know what that cost is going to be, but, like, definitely will be one. Oh, fuck. They rescue everybody. They get back to the station. And, you know, Dax kind of has that wrap-up conversation with Kira where they're like, oh, I was stuck with him for a week. It was wild. Oh my God. And then Dukat, like, again, the second time in the episode where a man is talked about and then he just suddenly shows up, or a character's talked about and he suddenly shows up. Dax leaves and they have their last conversation here.
Dax is like, oh, here's a mess I made. Time to get out. I don't want to be around for this.
And you know, the tension in this conversation is Kira knows damn well that Dukat is about to go deal with the consequences of the choice that Kira, in a lot of ways, pushed him into. And she's being a little smarmy about it, but also, like, not pushing too hard, you know? She clearly still doesn't like Dukat, but is being a little bit better about him, given the circumstances. And she, you know, she says, like, won't that be difficult for you to take Zial back to Cardassia? And he, like, just, in an answer, Dukat just, like, closes the distance between the two of them and just says to her, like, very close to her face, I'll let you know. and leaves. And it's such a great line to leave on of like, we're bound together now, Kira. I don't know if you know this, but I know you don't think we're friends, but we're very close now because I'm about to deal with some shit because of you. And I know it's going to be because of you, and you know because it's because of you. And when those consequences occur, you're going to be involved because this girl's alive because of you. And it sets up perfectly for what happens later with that. Like, yeah, you're going to find out. Don't worry. You think we're done? Oh no, bitch, we are tight now. Whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Was all of this part of Dukat's plan to like emotionally manipulate Kira Nerys, knowing that things would play out this way and he would be buying massive amounts of credit with her?
Interesting. Again, one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. I think it's got more depth to it. It's definitely in like probably my favorite Dukat episode overall. Really puts characters together in a way that I think works. It's a great A plot, B plot contrast. It's the opposite of the butt probe aliens, and also we need to find out if Reed likes pineapple, right? Like where those are contrasting A plot, B plot that don't work because they're competing with each other, and their tonal discord wrecks the whole episode. In this case, the A plot and B plot are separate, so you can do tonal shifts, and it cuts things rather than interferes with it. And
they're both meaningful too. Like again, the big takeaway from the B plot, it's not just the Cassidy Yates things. It's looking at Sisko as a person who is being forced to grow, and again, how he's interacting with his crew when they're between space dilemmas.
Yes, and this obviously just sets up a ton of what happens with Gul Dukat. Like this really is where a lot of his plot takes off, and how he becomes very integrated into the show and into the fates of everyone on the station. So. All that said, all that done. What do you think?
That was good.
You liked it? Is it good? Is it great? Like,
let's see where they go with this stuff. But I love the idea of Dukat, who has spoken many times about family, the importance of it, and this guy who has been trying to really embody the spirit of unending sacrifice, and be this poster child of Cardassia, having some real guilty shit going on by being an adulterer, having this shame child, having been willing to kill the child, and is now embraced. Like, the guy was already a pretty compelling character. Also, too, going back to, was it The Orphan, where Garrick and Bashir go to Bajor and
Cardassians is what that was called, yeah.
Dukat is absolutely someone who's gone after other people's families before and tried to manipulate children and political sabotage. So all of this is very, very interesting. He was already an interesting character, and humanizing him a little bit here is a nice move, as well as improving the relationship between him and Kira, where they might start getting some juicier dialogue, and it's not just antagonistic bullshit all the time.
I have bad news about our next episode. You want to take a look at what Memory Alpha's going to suggest it's about?
Rejoin, Season 4, Episode 6. Teleplay by Ronald Moore and Renee Echeverria. Story by Renee Echeverria. Directed by Avery Brooks. Dax is reunited with the consummate, a wife of one of her previous hosts, and must decide whether or not to ignore Trill Taboo and continue their relationship.
This episode is extraordinarily famous for the screenshot you're seeing on screen. This is the very first same-sex kiss in all of broadcast television is in this.
Whoop-de-doo.
Not exactly a huge thing to be talking about 2026, but 30 years ago was a
Listen,
big
I have
deal.
high-speed internet. I've seen girls kiss a lot, all right?
So, I haven't watched this one in a while, so I'm not sure how it holds up as its own dramatic presentation. So, we'll see if the curse can be broken. And thank you to all of you who have been joining us along on this. As we have mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we have Patreon. We've recently put up a new Patreon episode where we reviewed Star Trek Borg and then talked a lot about the Sega CD. If you're up for more content like that, I think we're going to do a bit more, just kind of 20, 25 minute audio only content for Patreon. You can sign up at www.patreon.com/featureplease. $3 gets you access to everything, including our famous Tank Girl review that will remain solely the province of paid membership.
You have all of the instrument intros that we use. Are all of our title sequences available for download?
Should be up there, yeah. I should just put all of them up there in case you want for like ringtones or something.
Yeah,
especially the Mirror Universe one.
Very good. Man, I saw that fucking YouTube comment where the guy was like, "I quit halfway through the intro." It's like, all right, buddy. Well,
yeah, all right. Well, our filtering mechanism has worked. It's like, there was a lot of ways to make sure the wrong people don't find us. That's one of them.
Yeah.
But if you have listened this deep, you are one of the chosen ones. We appreciate you, and we will see you next week.